Well, hello everyone, it's Kevin here. Welcome to Mobile DJ Remastered. Today I want to talk about how to structure the programming or the music selection at a wedding. Now, a lot of DJs will certainly have a innate ability to select the right music for the right time. And, thinking about the events going on or thinking about the audience that you have, you're going to want to pick different music for different times. But some folks might need a little bit of some help to think about how to structure the evening in terms of a wedding, because you definitely don't want to be all over the place. Like, for example, you wouldn't want to play a big line dance right before the ceremony. Not that anyone would do that, but you really have to think about what's the purpose of the music at the specific time throughout the events of the wedding. So what I've done here is I put together a little bit of a philosophy on paper so that I can go over it with you guys and show you guys how I think about planning the music around a wedding. So first, let me jump in and orient you to this image. So here's my chart that I made, and if you look at the different axes, the axes, one right off the page here on the vertical, you'll see it's music's place and role. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the place and role of the music should be during the different times. And then you can see on the horizontal axis, it's essentially the timeline of a typical wedding. Now, I'm in the Midwest, and I know that certain areas of the country or different places in the world will do things differently than in the US. However, this is pretty much a standard format, and you can kind of make some translations if you'd like for your local area. But the standard format is prelude, ceremony, typically on site at the venue where the reception would be held, the cocktail hour or welcome hour of the reception, the dinner, any formalities. And that would include like first dance, parent dances, toast, cake, those kind of things. And then open dancing. And I know obviously there are going to be other activities in some cases. Many times inside of open dancing, I'll do things like of course, the bouquet toss, the garter toss, things like that. That you can maybe call formality. But in essence, that's the typical timeline of a wedding, okay? Just for this purpose. And the music's place and role axis is going to be real important, because this is where I'm basically, putting my philosophy here on paper. You might have a different philosophy, but I'm hoping that this will help folks that are having a little trouble or struggling to think about how to structure their programming for the evening, or for the wedding. Now, when you look at the bottom here, the first part of this music's place and role is background. It's ambient good vibes, and that's appropriate for your prelude, your ceremony, and your cocktail hour. So you can kind of see how this little line really shows you my opinion and my thoughts on timing versus the energy and the place of the music. And you can see this is definitely a curve. It starts here at the bottom for those good vibes and those ambient, that background music. You don't want music to be in the foreground or in your face. You want it to be kind of there as a great piece of decor, if you will. It's going to definitely make it nice, because you want to engage all the senses, of course, at any event, and this will engage people's ears and thoughts. But you really don't want it to be too overwhelming in terms of definitely not loud, but you definitely don't want also it to engage their thoughts too much, because this part of the evening, the cocktail hour, is for human connections. It's for people to catch up with folks that maybe they haven't seen in a while, or meeting new people from the other family, from the bride or groom or whomever, the other family members that they're just getting to meet, or maybe friends or whatever. So that's kind of like that time. So you don't want music to be too much in the foreground. So I've got this first section here, background for good ambient, for ambient good vibes. You'll also see I put these stars here. These are just to indicate that, there are going to be special moment songs that transcend the graph. They kind of pop off the page here, really, because they're going to be like the wedding processional, the grand entrance, things like that. Okay, you're not going to want to definitely you're going to want to play whatever the couple really wants you to play. Okay, that's not part of this. This is more about your selection of music and the type of vibe you want to create. Once we get into dinner, though, I change my thinking. I want to connect people to music more. And you're kind of like, you can see the S curves kind of starting to climb here in this section when we get into dinner. And what I think about this are things like the tracks are extremely well known. They're nostalgic. Okay. People are going to reach back in their mind and they're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember this song from the past. Typically, that's why a lot of like Frank Sinatra and songs like that do really well at dinner, because they're throwbacks, they're nostalgic, and they just remind you of a different time. But your objective here is to build that energy, start to build the energy and the connection to the music. It's in the foreground now. That's what this section means. So it's in the foreground. It's causing some sing-along. It's causing some toe tapping and some swaying in your seats. It's not like full-on dancing, but it's really trying to connect with people with the music. That's really important because, a couple reasons. One is we want to engage their senses and we want to engage their thoughts and their ears at this point in the night. They're eating, they're having their dinner or their lunch if it's a daytime wedding, whatever. They're having their meal, and yeah, sure, they're going to be talking and catching up at their dinner table, but they're going to be doing a lot of, certainly listening to the music around them, and we want them to connect to the music. We want to start to bridge them into a place where they're going to be dancing in just a little bit, right? So we're connecting them with the music. And that's kind of this middle section. Again, you're going to have like the grand entrance, the introductions. You might have some formality songs like the parent dances and things. Those transcend this. But in between, some DJs, I think, miss this point. In between, keep it up with the same vibe. Like, for example, if you have cake cutting, okay, and then you move on to, let's say, bouquet toss, or you have, the parent dances that are going to happen after cake, whatever the sequence might be, in that middle ground, while, the couple's done with their cake, but they're cleaning up because, maybe they got smashed or something like that with the cake, and or whatever's going on in those middle parts, keep with the same vibe. Keep with that music's in the foreground. We're building energy. We're building connection. We're trying to induce nostalgia. We're trying to, create connection with the music. That's important because if you just throw in a dancer, then you kind of like miss your moment on the opening dancing unveiling. You might have a little dance party breaking out. Like people might get into it and start dancing. That's great. It's not going to happen every time, but that's a great crowd, but keep with that vibe and it'll be a big payoff later. Okay, so once we're through formalities and you get to open dancing, that's what this little mark here is. And I got this little dancing threshold mark. This is where you want to really step up the energy. You want to get, you want the music, its role and its place to be highly engaging. You want it to inspire new memories. You want to be making new memories, not the nostalgia necessarily of, oh yeah, I remember that jam. But you want to definitely have people making new memories on the dance floor. And what does that mean? Well, that means that you're kind of engaging, instead of like during dinner, you're engaging sort of the past. Here, you want to engage the now, okay, the present. And most of these tracks that you want to play in this time of the night, okay, in this time of this part of the wedding, are going to be those ones that you classically think of about a wedding, the high energy, up tempo, well known, and they're going to cause some dancing. They're going to drive the dancing that you want. Now you will definitely want to you don't want to just explode for 3 hours of open dancing on folks or whatever the timing is. You definitely want to give some breaks in the evening and use your DJ skills to, build up the energy and then maybe pull it back down a little, maybe give them a break, let folks go to the bar, get a drink, maybe a slow dance that can allow folks to, get couples to get close, friends and family to start swaying together. Those moments where, you get small friend groups or maybe the immediate families together and they're just kind of like swaying with the song that they know or singing along. And it might be a slow song, but it's just their jam. Those are what I'm talking about. You want to create those moments. So this, I would say, it doesn't need to be, a specific, linear explosion of music and energy all the way to the end of the night. It's more of an ebb and flow. But I think you guys get my point here. You want to stay in this zone, though, this highly engaging music zone. Okay, you don't want to be playing things that would be maybe that you would be playing in cocktail hour, like some song that not everybody's gonna know. It's gonna kind of off the wall. You want to stay very engaging here. And I always like this. I put this on here too because I like to think about dancing as phases. So phase one is all about connecting to the masses, bringing in grandma, grandpa, the aunts and uncles, making everybody feel like they can get some cardio here at the wedding. And you're connecting with all generations. That's so awesome if you can do those. And there's so many great hits that do that. Bruno Mars, pretty much, he's got quite a few that, but the Uptown Funk's the classic that folks go to. Certainly the, Staying Alive, Dancing Queen kind of songs, Shout, those kind of songs that just have mass appeal that people don't always hear on the radio anymore. They don't always dance to. They're not at a wedding every weekend, but they're hearing it now and they're dancing. Then you get into phase two, and that's a little later in the evening. And that's going to be like, you're going to want to target the couple's generation, so if the couple grew up and graduated, think about their graduation year. If they graduated in, 2005, okay, or 2010, you're going to want to pick hits and genres in line with what they like and what their vibe is. Of course, you're going to always layer that on top of this planning, but you're going to want to target that area and that era of music just because that's going to connect with them more. Okay. So pick bangers that are closer to their generation and will kind of like appeal to the, I don't want to say younger folks, but it's the generation of the wedding party and the bride and groom. Okay. You want to attack those, with bangers. You want to really hit that generation. So when you think about this as a whole, there are definitely exceptions to the rule, but as this kind of curve moves up, you are creating this energy that builds and builds. And I don't think that correlates directly to volume. Somewhat it correlates to volume, but what I would say about that is that, when we get up into this, over the dancing threshold, you don't want it to be so loud that, folks can't have a conversation when they're off the dance floor. So make sure to set up your speakers and set up everything to where you're projecting sound. I love to turn my speakers in if I'm in a good configuration where I can turn my speakers toward the dance floor. And when my volume goes up, it's creating a high volume pocket right there on the dance floor, but it's not going to be crazy if you're off the dance floor. You can still hear and have a conversation. So that's important. Guys, I hope this helps maybe frame up programming for you just a little bit if you're not as familiar, if you haven't done many weddings, or if you're looking for a way to kind of freshen up your perspective on how to do great programming at a wedding. This could also apply to other kind of parties, but obviously the timeline I focus on here is all to do with weddings. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, subscribe to my channel if you don't mind. All kinds of good content coming out for you guys. So please subscribe. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.